In this lesson, we're going to learn about the text tool and how we can create text, customize the way they look, and also how we can add mask layers to our text, and all the other things that we can do with a simple sentence or a simple word. Right, so for this lesson, we're going to need a few panels. I'm going to remove the effects and preset panel. We're not going to need this. Instead, except the composition, effects control, project, and the timeline, we're also going to need the character panel. Here it is. And also the paragraph panel. So we need these two because we're going to be working with text. So let's go ahead and create our new composition. Hit OK. And I'm going to make a solid layer so we can better see the text that we're going to add. So hold down Control and press Y or Command Y if you're on Mac. Then choose a color. Let's choose something vibrant, like white. Hit OK, and now we have a white background. So the text tool is next to the pen tool, and to access it, you can just hit Control T, as you can see. So if you want to create a new text layer, you would hold down Control Shift Alt T. In Mac, that would be Command Shift Option T to create a empty text layer. Or another way that you can make a text layer is to go in Layer, New Text. In trouble following the line. There it is. See, Control Alt Shift T. You can make it here, or you can simply grab, let me delete this. Simply grab the text tool and just click once to make a text layer. So you can use any of these methods. And I'm just going to type something in. There we are. So now the text layer is named after what I just typed. And I can just drag it using the selection tool. Just move it anywhere I want. All right, I'm going to go back to the text tool. Just hold down Control T to access that, or Command T. Control A to select every letter. And in the character panel is where we could customize our text, make it look a certain way, change the color, and all of that. So over here is your font. If you open it, you're going to get the fonts that you have installed on your computer. If you want more fonts, you can go to Adobe Fonts, maybe Google Fonts, or any other place that you want. Here I get to choose a font for my text. It's not looking too good. We can't really see anything. Let's choose something like this. So this was my font. And depending on your font, you could have some options for styles. So currently you see we only have two options for this particular font. But if you look at some other ones, like this guy, you can see we have more options. And depending on the font that you choose, you can see next to it there's this arrow that indicates that you have options for the style. So if it doesn't have that arrow, you can see there's only one singular style. But if it does have that arrow, we open this guy, you can see we have a lot of options to choose from. And this all depends on the font that you have downloaded, so just read the description to know the styles. If you want to use styles on this, make sure that is included in the font that you're purchasing or downloading. So I'm going to choose the, let me see, a rather thick font so we can see it better. And after I've chosen my font and the style, I can change the color. So over here, we have black and white, if you just want it to be black and white. And if you click on it, the fill color is now black. The fill color is inside each of these letters. And currently, we have the white stroke. So behind this, you can see there's a stroked square. That is your stroke color. So I'm going to change that because we can't really see a white stroke. Let's make it red. And again, I'm not seeing it because our stroke is really small. So Control A, and then add to the stroke. And to change my color, make sure you have your letters selected before choosing your color. And I'm going to go here. It's 0. I'm going to set it to 17 pixels. And here you saw that I went from stroke over fill to fill over stroke. Choose whichever you want. And the difference is that when you choose stroke over fill, your stroke color, which is red in our case, is going to be on top of the black. And if you choose fill over stroke, it's going to be the exact opposite. I like to go with fill over stroke. All right, so down here you get to choose the size of your font. If you want it big and small, let me zoom out. This is big, small. You can also click once to type in any number you want. And if you open this guy, you have some numbers to choose from. 72 is too small. I'm going to change this back to fill over stroke. Next to that, we have the space between the two words. So we only have one word right now. I have to hit enter and write another thing. Let's write goodbye. Control A again. Zoom out using your scroll wheel. And here, right now, it's set on auto. If I move this around, you can see I'm increasing the space between the two words. If I only have this guy selected, nothing is going to change much because there's nothing above or below it. So I'm going to hit Control A to grab everything, or Command A. And usually I recommend that you guys put it on auto. It just saves you some time. You want to make sure the space is suitable. So just put it on auto. And then we have something here, which is the space between each of the letters. So let me bring this guy here. Right now it's on 5. If I increase it, I'm increasing the space between each of these letters. So if I decrease it, I will be squishing all the letters together onto one side. Put it on 0, it's going to be the default space that your font has. So again, if you put the drop-down menu, you can choose a number, or you can just hit on the number and enter anything that you want. And then this guy was the stroke, the thickness of your stroke. So if you go down, if you put it on 0, there's nothing. If you go up, you're adding to that stroke. And then here we have the height of each of the letters. Right now it's at 100%. If we increase it, you can see we're increasing the height. Decrease it, we're squishing it down. So by default, it would be at 100%, which is the regular height of your font. We have the width of each letter, how big each one is. Again, if it's less, you're squishing it together. And notice how the space between the letters are the same. So these two are different. Don't mix them together. This is the width of each of the letters, not the space between the letters. So again, I'm going to go with 100. And then we have the baseline shift. Usually the baseline is at 0. And what the baseline is the line that your letters are going to stand on. So if I grab goodbye and I move the baseline, you can see it's coming down. Then whatever I type next is going to be on that same baseline. So I'm going to hit Control Z, bring it back. Then finally, we have the space for each of the letters. These wouldn't really work well with English letters. As you can see, there's a Japanese hiragana character. So these are for certain languages where their characters need to be kind of squished in or expanded if needed. As you saw, if we put this at 0, nothing happens to this letter because it's an English letter. So I'm going to put that back at 100. And then down here, we have some styles. I'm going to undo this. So this is making everything bold. If I press this, I have made my text bold. Undo that, it's back to the regular style. I can make it italic. I can make everything capitalized. It's already like that. Let me see if I can write something normally. Okay, so this font is only capital letters. Let's write something else with a different font. Hit Control A. Let's go to a regular font. Okay. So you can see hello is written in lowercase. If I hit this, it's going to be capitalized. If I undo that, it'll be back to what it was. Hit this guy, it's going to be, the first letter is going to be capitalized and the rest are also capitalized, but they're smaller. You can see here. And then we have the stuff for numbers. If you want to add numbers to your text, you could do this or put it below. Wouldn't really work that well for text. And then down under these, we have some special character options like Hindi digits. And these are just some things you would use for special text. But for our case, there's nothing special about this. So that was the character panel. It's really simple. If you've worked with any other program that includes text, this should be pretty familiar to you. Then below here, we have a paragraph panel. I don't really have a paragraph here, but I'm still going to show you guys how it works. I'm going to delete this, just write something. And I'm just going to copy this, Control C, and hit enter. Just make like a few lines. Control A, I'm going to make everything smaller so it fits within our screen. Then move it to the center. And let me also get another panel. If you go in Window, turn on the Align panel. If I hit this guy, it's going to center my layer horizontally, and here it will do it vertically. So you don't have to move it and guess where the center would be. Now this is the Align panel. I'll go back to Paragraph. Now in our paragraph, we have some options. The alignment, you could start from the left, start from the middle, start from the right if you have a text that requires that. And this guy determines the space between the edge of your screen and the start of your paragraph. So if you move it, you can see I'm just moving my text around. And you could also do this with a singular sentence of that paragraph. You could move it forward. So basically the stuff down here is, let me first undo what I did. The stuff down here is for positioning of your paragraph, be it a sentence of it or the entire paragraph. You get to move things around, add spaces to them, and just things that you may need for pieces where there's a lot of text and you just want to make it look balanced. So you can practice with this panel and see how you could make your paragraph look balanced and nice. I'm not going to get into this right now, but you're basically just moving the sentence, the first letter, and all of that. But down here, I'm just going to talk about this. If you're going to be working with a language that starts from the right, you would have to change it into this. So it's right to left text direction. So if you're working with English or languages that start from the left, you would put it on this. But if you're working with languages that start from the right, you would need to change it here. All right, so that was the paragraph. It's nothing important. And now let's move on to the other properties for the text layer. I'm going to delete this guy. Again, hold down Control-Shift-Alt-T or Command-Shift-Option-T to create a new text layer. I'm going to name, as in write something, Control-A. Use the character panel to adjust it. And I'm going to choose another font that looks better. Let me see what I could add. Instead of extra light, I'll go with bold. All right. And then instead of moving it, go to the Align panel. Put it in the center horizontally and vertically. All right. Now go in your text layer and we're going to look at the Transform panel and the other options that we have for text. So if you expand the options down here, you can see instead of one, we have two things. We have one for text and one for transform. The transform tab is just a basic thing where you get to move your text layer in creative ways using scaling, rotation, opacity, and position. Just the animation part. Basically, this panel is available for any layer that you have within After Effects. But we're going to look at this after. Let's look at the text layer. If we expand it, we have 3 options. I'm going to start with the source text. Source text is actually really cool. It allows you to change the text, the original text, through your determined times. And what that means, let me close this panel, and then move this guy, the align panel, I'm going to move it up here, just so we can see the full timeline. It allows me to change what my text is saying throughout my composition. So let's see what that means. If I start the stopwatch, there's a keyframe. I'm going to move in, let me zoom into my timeline, move in 2 seconds. And maybe here, I wanted to say something else instead of what I wrote originally. So when I'm here, I'm going to select everything and write something else. And using the align panel, I'm going to center my thing. If I play this back, you can see it says hello, then it says goodbye. So it's really fun. You can do this as many times as you want. Maybe I'll write something else. Oops, I closed the panel. Go back in here, go to source text. And then I'm going to keep hitting T. Make sure you hit Control T and not T. Grab this guy. Let's write something else. Alright, again, I'm going to align it with the align panel. So now I wrote 3 different things, and it's going to work perfectly when I play it back. Close this panel again. So that's source text. It's really cool. Definitely recommend that you guys use this in your videos. And I'm going to turn it off and work with the other things. Now below it, we have path options. Now path is also another cool thing that After Effects has. Basically what path stands for is when you create something using the pen tool, so like a wavy line, a straight line, or anything. And then you can make your text move along that line. So right now path is set to none because we don't have any path made with the pen tool. But if I go on my text layer and I get my pen tool, you can see the mask layer is next to it. I'm going to create a line, just like a wavy line like this. And now you can see that I have a mask option as well. On the path thing, we have mask 1. So you saw that our text moved on top, and right now it's not going to move unless we turn on the stopwatch. Remember, stopwatch equals animation. So you can make it go reverse, so from the opposite side, flipped, and you can also make it kind of move like as the waves are. So show what that means. We'll show that later. Then we have force alignment, which kind of expands the letters as long as your pen tool is, as in your mask path is. If you do want to use this, make sure that your path finishes within the screen. You can see the edge and like a bit of the O are not fully in because we drew the first point and the last point outside of our composition. And then down here we have the first margin. This is where it would move. And the last margin is something more complicated. We'll get into that in different lessons. Below it, we have more options. These are also for more advanced animations. But for now, because you're just starting out, I'm going to stick with the easier and the basics. I'm going to turn off force alignment. Now I want it to move along this path. So I'm going to, before I turn on first margin, I'm going to choose the spot where I want my text to start moving, and then I'll turn on my stopwatch, move in a few seconds, and maybe like 3 seconds, and then move it all the way to the end. All right. I'm also going to turn on this guy. It's already on. Then I'm going to grab both keyframes, F9. Let's play it back. You can see it moves along the path and it disappears because I made it go outside of the screen. Now if I turn off this option, see how it's different. So this is with this option turned on, this is without it. So basically when you turn this on, it's going to stand according to the floor that it's on. If you turn it off, it's just going to be random. It's going to be straight no matter what. If you turn it this way, let me zoom in. I'm going to get the hand tool, hit H on your keyboard. You can see when it's on, the bottom of your letters are going to stick with the floor. So if you turn that off, you can see that the letters are standing upwards and half the letters are in the air. Turn that on, zoom out, hit H to move your screen. And yeah, so you can choose whichever you want. I'm going to stick with it turned on, and it's a fun little animation. Now you don't have to do something this simple. Let me delete my mask layer. Just go on mask, hit backspace, and now it's gone. We're going to do another complicated path. So you can see the option next to my cursor. It's the mask layer. If I'm not selecting this, let me hit M on hello, click away. It's a shape. So make sure that it's not a star next to your cursor, but a mask icon. Let's go back in here. Now you can see it's a mask icon. I'm going to make like a roller coaster effect. So I'm going to make like a circle here and like finish it here. All right. And now I'm going to assign it to my path. So click on mask 1. This guy is on. Let's come down. Move it outside my screen. Turn on the stopwatch. Then move it all the way around. So you can see my letters kind of collapse because my thing is too small, my circle. You can adjust the size of your text too, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Grab both of them, F9. Let's play it back. And you can see how it just flies around. If you wanted to move slowly, you would expand your the space between the two keyframes. So let's go for like grabbing both of them. Grab the second one. And let's come down to 5 seconds. You can see it's moving a lot more slower. And there we are. So you would determine the speed depending on how much space you leave between the two keyframes. And using that, we just made a really fun effect. And for example, we're going to use the source text option. I'm going to go in the beginning, hit the stopwatch. So it's going to say hello here, but as it comes here, I'm going to write goodbye. So Control A, goodbye. Let's play this back. It's going to move slowly at first. You can see it just switches to goodbye. And if you go in your mask options, open mask 1, you can also change your mask path. So we're going to get into mask things later. You can change the path of it. So if it's like this in the beginning, you can make the end go higher or anything else that you want. You can feather it out, change the opacity, expand it, and just some basic things, but we wouldn't really need to use feather or opacity because these are not the regular mask options. This is how it would look on a regular layer. Let me go on this guy. Get my pen tool. You can see next to the cursor, there is the mask icon. If I create a mask of my solid, white solid, and open the properties of mask, all of them, I can use these to feather things out and change the opacity. So if I reduce the opacity, you can see it fades away. If I feather it out, let me add another solid below it, Control Y. Choose a black one so we can see it. And okay. Bring this guy below. You can see we've feathered out our mask. This is how it looked normally. Then if you feather it out, it's going to expand like this. And if you add a keyframe, let's turn this guy on. Let's say by as soon as this guy hits this circle, we're going to have this guy expand and feather out. So by the time it comes here, I'm going to make it even more feathered out. If you hit play, you can see it's slowly feathering the mask. And we can also make it disappear at the end. So turn this guy on, it's going to be 100, and then around here when the text is gone, I'm going to move it to 0. I'm just going to move the first keyframe here at the time where I want it to start fading. So I guess we'll leave it there. Grab all the keyframes, F9, and play. You can see we added some animation to the mask layer as well. So these are just some options for the mask. If I turn on the expansion, it's also going to be a nice thing. I'm making it bigger. Hit this back. See, it gets bigger. So we'll get into mask layers later throughout the tutorials. Right now, as a shape, it's not that interesting, but once you use it on top of a video or animation, it's going to look really cool. So I'm just going to delete this mask. Just go on mask 1, hit backspace. Right, and I'm going to hit M on white solid 1. Go back to the hello. Right, I'm going to close this mask thing. So we made this really simple text over path animation, and you can see it's really fun and really simple. It didn't take that long at all. Going to set this back to none, and then I'll delete the path. Just go on mask and then hit backspace. And I'm going to turn off the source text. And there we are. Hit M to close everything. So now let's look at the regular transform options that we have for this layer. So just expand this. And using these guys, we can just do some simple animation. So I'm going to move this guy all the way to the end. I'm going to make sure it's aligned perfectly in the center vertically. Then I'm going to turn on the stopwatch, and at like 2 seconds, I'm going to make it go all the way to the end. So if you're not seeing this, then it means that your stopwatch is not turned on. And then while it's moving, I wanted to, so let's first see it moving. F9, never skip on the F9. You want to make sure it looks good. You can see the text just flies away vertically. Now let's look at some other options. So let's say when it's here, I wanted to, I guess I'll start from the beginning. In the beginning, I wanted to kind of rotate downwards. Turn on the stopwatch. When it's here, almost at the center, I'm going to make it come back to 0. So I'll bring this guy close. So it's like going like that. Again, F9. Then I will make it go to scale and make it a little smaller. Turn on the stopwatch. Come around the part where it stands up straight here. Then I'll make it larger than it was. Come a few frames and then go back to 100. Hit OK. F9. Grab the first one and bring it closer. And I'm also going to make it fade, although we don't need to make it fade because it goes out of the screen. Hit back. You can see it's a really silly animation. We were able to do that using these guys. Now let me turn and delete all of these guys. I did want to show and talk about the anchor points of your text layers. Center our text. Currently it's set to this corner. So if I wanted to scale this in or out, you can see that it's going to come out from the corner, the left corner. Hit F9. So it's like this. So if you're going to scale your text, you want to make sure that the anchor point is set to the part where you want your text to appear from. You close the paragraph panel and open this guy all the way. So going on the anchor point tool, I can use this to go around my text. So if it's in the center and I play it back, you can see it appears from the center. If I go back and, or actually let's do it here. If I bring it in the center down, play it back, it's going to appear from the center but below. So the anchor point is really important. It also applies to the rotation of your text. Let's bring these away for a second. And I'm going to rotate it like this. So because it's set at the center, you can see it's rotating around that point. But let me set it to 0. If I bring the anchor point to the corner, you can see that it flips throughout that point. And so that's why you need to make sure that your anchor point is set correctly. Let's do a fun little animation with this while we're here. Hit this to 0. Just reset everything. So I'm going to bring it upwards. Turn this on. Bring it a few frames in. Bring it down, or just type in 0. Tap on the number, hit 0. So we have this guy. All right. And if we hit F9 and go to the source text, we can make a nice little animation. I'm going to come down to the point where it reaches the floor. Go up here. Turn on the bring hello in the beginning. Go back to where it was. And then we're going to write another thing. So Control T. Control A, like that. So you can see it's a little nice text change. It obviously needs more supporting animations to make it look better, but I'm just demonstrating how you can work with these layers. Click on the layer, hit M to close everything. We also have some more options over here. There's an animate and there's like a play button next to it. I'm going to reset my transform tab because I do not need these anymore. Reset everything. Just turn off the rotation as well. Alright, so let's close this off. Now in animate, we have the options that we have for the transform tab. They're also here. You can change the fill color, stroke width, which we can do up here as well. But we have some other things that we can do, like a blurring animation. You can see now I have a range selector and there's blur. And there's also a stopwatch next to it, which means I can animate this too. I'm going to turn it on and then come in a few frames and kind of like blur out my text. Play it back. You can see it blurs out. And then below that, open range selector. You can change the start and end point of these guys. So start, you can like move it somewhere, and then at the end, you can, I don't know, just work with these and make it look nice. Just playing around with these numbers. So it's like a weird animation with the start point and the end point. If you play it back, I mean, we only have 2 letters, that's why it's looking weird. So this is, for example, if you had like a long word, you can make the blurring take place slowly and start from like the left and kind of like hand through each of the letters, making them blurred one by one. So we'll get into these later too. And I'm just gonna turn off my blur and hit M on my keyboard. So that is how you work with the text tool and all the different panels that are required for it. Again, it's really simple. If you just play around and practice with it, you'll only get better. And now that we know how to work with the text tool, in the future lessons, we will be able to create cool animations and other types of motion with the text tool. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.